Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to help you get the Zettelkasten of your dreams on your work table beside you. This is day 3 of our new series on writing from a Zettelkasten. And this day, I need to say a little bit about what I'm writing in order to set a background for what I want to share with you today. My monthly newsletter focuses on a set of character traits that help fiction writers create very believable characters in settings that are very accurate emotionally and motivationally. Each month, I focus in on a single character trait. There are 27 in all. My newsletter is divided up into roughly 3 parts. The first third of the newsletter takes the word that describes the character trait of the month and brings it to the reader at an emotional level. The reason behind this section of the newsletter is to go from a sterile word to a set of emotions and then begin to be able to attach that word to that set of emotions. So that is the part that I'm going to focus on when we go over to the down-facing camera. I'm not going to be telling about my character trait or what I want to show you about that character trait. I'll be talking about how do you use your Zettelkasten when what you must produce is creative in nature and needs to come out of your own mind. When you yourself are not only the author of the words, but the author of the ideas. So come on over to the down-facing camera and we're going to talk about idea generation with your Zettelkasten. See you over there. When your writing starts from your Zettelkasten, is inspired by your Zettelkasten, but the content needs to come from your own personal creativity, you can hardly beat making it a practice to start with why. Simon Sinek writes an entire book on start with why and why it's so important for a company to know its why in order to be able to do an effective job of carrying out its mission, calling the right people to its products, and engendering loyalty amongst its customers. Those reasons also hold when you're writing. You're writing for a reader. What is it that you're hoping that your reader will get out of the writing that you're doing? Start with why. In the writing process, to picture your reader getting it, absorbing what you're trying to give them, and experiencing an aha moment. So if you haven't nailed down your why yet, here are a couple of books that can help you with that. For me, I can always turn to my bib cards and refresh my why before I start writing if I'm having any doubts. My second piece of advice for writing from your own personal creativity is to have a list of empowering questions. These questions can help you make sure that you've covered all the bases that you want to cover in your writing. The simplest ones are the ones they teach us in high school, and that, of course, is the who, what, why, where, when. Begin with those, but work on a personal list of questions that can be much more probing and much more analytical and much more inspiring for your writing. If you don't know where to start in creating your own personal list of questions, I highly recommend Jeffcoat's series on the logic system of Ramon Llull. He has an entire podcast devoted to Ramon Llull and what's called the Ramon Llull's art. Well, his art is actually a system for asking very, very pointed questions that are very, very sharp. And in fact, Ramon Llull is often credited as the father of the scientific method because his questions were so precise. So you can check out Mel Jeffcoat's YouTube channel for that. And it's at Industrial Alchemy, and I'll include a link in the show notes. But these need to be converted into your own set of questions. You need your own private question list. I have yet another source that I'd like to recommend to help you with creative writing that's coming out of your own brain. And that's to consider looking at Michael Dean's process for evaluating the effectiveness of an essay. He has a number of essays on essay writing in his Substack, and I especially recommend your starting point, The Secret Architecture of Great Essays, and a pattern language. I took ample notes on these for myself so that I could go about evaluating my own work as well. But knowing the patterns and the criteria by which a good essay can be judged is a great way to inspire quality writing in the first place. When you're thinking about these various elements on which you're going to come back and say, how did I do on this, or this? Just read them ahead of time, and they will play out in your mind in the background. Your subconscious mind will be aware that you want to perform well in those respects, and it will deliver up better writing for you than you would ever do without first priming your subconscious mind to know that you want to perform well on these criteria. After reviewing your criteria, the next thing to do is to start creating some writing. I use 3 different drafts which lead up to a first draft. Maybe I should call them 1, 2, 3. My 0 draft material is written right here on these yellow legal pads, and it's just notes that I sketch out, ideas. They're not necessarily complete by any means, but there's enough detail there that if I come back to it a day later, I can still read and understand what I meant. I've had too many occasions where I just jotted something down, very excited, certain that I would know exactly what I was talking about, and come back even an hour later and said, what? And not been able to make a thing out of it. So my 0 drafts are complete thoughts in the sense that you can definitely get back to what you were thinking, but of course they're not fleshed out and they're not set up. When you go to write something that's semi for real, you've got to build up to it. You've got to set the stage for it. And I have learned through painful trial and error that by the time I set the stage for what it was I wanted to say, what I wanted to say is gone. And so now I just do a 0 draft, what I wanted to say, clear enough that I can attach it to what I was thinking. Then the first draft I often will also do here on a yellow pad, and that's where I attempt to lay out all of the information. For me, the idea of a first draft is put the information down, probably in pretty much the sequence that I want to present it, but not necessarily final sequence, but just it's sort of like get the information there. Don't worry if it's written prettily. Just what is it that I want to actually get said? Then finally comes my first production draft, and that's my first attempt at saying it the way I want the finished product to be. And this one with some revisions will be what goes into my newsletter. So what did you think about the idea of using your Zettelkasten as a writing partner when the ideas that you're putting down on paper have to come out of your own brain? I hope you found some ideas that can help you, and some ways of doing a little bit of research that will help build some tools for you when you're in a position like that. And I hope you'll join me tomorrow, and we will continue this journey of writing from a Zettelkasten. See you then. Bye-bye.